Hello and welcome to this webinar about finishing your online tax return. Before we start today's webinar, I'll just mention that this webinar is part of a series that will help you with your self-assessment tax return. These are the titles of the other webinars in the series. You can find out when these webinars are running and about other products to help you with your tax return on our HMRC email updates, videos and webinars for self-assessment page on gov.uk. In today's webinar, we'll look at underpaid and overpaid tax, adjustments to tax due, checking your return, saving and submitting your return, and amending your return after you've sent it. Once you've entered all your taxable income and claimed any tax reliefs you're entitled to, there are some sections which everyone is asked to complete. We'll start by looking at underpaid and overpaid tax. The first section is for underpaid tax and other debts. There are 3 pages of questions about amounts being collected in your PAYE tax code if you have one. You need to answer these questions even if you don't have a PAYE source of income. Before we look at these pages, I'll just explain what we mean by a PAYE source of income. This is income which is taxed before you're paid using a tax code. For example, it may be from an employment, a works pension, or a private pension. HMRC send the employer or pension company a tax code so they can collect any tax due on that income each time you're paid. If you have underpaid tax or other debts in your tax code, the tax taken from your pay by your employer or pension provider will include some of the underpaid tax or other debt. It's important to include these amounts on your tax return so we can work out the correct tax due for this year. The figures should already be shown on your tax return, but you need to check them even if they are zero. If you don't have a PAYE source of income, the amounts will be zero, but you need to confirm they are correct. Rather than keep repeating the tax year, I'm going to refer to this year and last year. So this year is the 6th of April 2025 to the 5th of April 2026 tax year. Last year is the 6th of April 2024 to the 5th of April 2025 tax year. So that's the year of the tax return you're filling in. We'll now look at each of the pages of the tax return and where to find the figures. This first page is for any underpaid tax for earlier years, which is included in your tax code for the year of this tax return. So that's last year. To check or find the correct amount for this page, you need your PAYE tax code in notice, known as a P2 for last year. On page 2 of the coding notice, if it includes a note for tax you owe from an earlier year, you must include the amount on your tax return. Make sure you don't show the adjustment amount used to reduce your tax-free allowance. In this example, the amount to show is £1,500 and not the adjustment of £3,750. We ask you to confirm the amount is correct. If it is, select Yes, then save and continue. If there is no underpayment in your tax code, this is shown as 0. If an incorrect amount is showing on your tax return, select No. We then ask you to tell us the correct amount and why it's different. Please tell us the name and date of the document you got the new figure from. Page 2 of 2 is for tax we've estimated you owe for last year, which we'll include in your tax code for this year. This may happen if we reduce your tax code during the last tax year because of a change in your circumstances. If the change meant we were unable to collect all the tax due before April 2025, we'll estimate the amount underpaid. The estimated amount does not count as tax due for last year, which is why it needs to be included on your tax return. It will become part of the tax due for this year. To check the amount, you need your tax coding notice for this year and your final coding notice for last year. Firstly, check page 2 of your tax code for this year. If there's no underpayment for earlier years, 0 will show on your tax return. If there is an underpayment for earlier years, you need to check your tax code for last year. On page 2 of your tax code for last year, if it also shows a note for estimated tax you owe this year, the amount will show on your tax return. The amount shown here may be different to the underpayment amount on this year's tax code. If there isn't a note for estimated tax you owe this year, then 0 will show on your tax return, even if there is an underpayment for earlier years in your tax code for 2024 to 2025. Again, we ask you to confirm if the amount shown is correct. If it is, select Yes, then save and continue. If it's No, you need to tell us the correct amount and why it's different, remembering to include the name and date of the document you get the new figure from. The third page in this section is for other debts included in your tax code for last year. Other debts may include self-assessment, tax credit, or Class 2 national insurance outstanding debts. To check or find the correct amount for this page, you need your PAYE tax coding notice for last year. On page 2 of your tax coding, if it shows a note for outstanding debt restriction, you'll see the figure on your tax return. If there's no outstanding debt, this is shown as 0 on your tax return. We ask you to confirm the amount is correct. If it is, select Yes, then save and continue. If it's No, tell us the correct amount and why it's different. If you think you've overpaid tax and are due a refund, you can tell us where you want the repayment to be sent on this page. To prevent delays, we will always try to repay back to the credit or debit card you paid with first, before using the details you request on this page. If you didn't pay by card, we'll repay direct to your bank or building society account, which is the safest and quickest method. If you paid by direct debit, you'll need to provide your bank details to receive any repayment due. You can also authorize someone else, a nominee, to receive your repayment. We normally issue repayments within 2 weeks. However, we monitor all online transactions to protect you against fraud. This may cause delay to the repayment being issued, so please allow up to 12 weeks before contacting us to chase up a repayment. On the overpaid tax page, you can choose for the repayment to be issued to yourself, a nominee, or you can choose not applicable. When you've chosen who the repayment is being sent to, then save and continue, we ask you for the details. If you don't have a bank or building society account, you can tick this box and we'll send you a cheque. But as I mentioned, it is quicker and safer to send a repayment direct to a bank account. When you enter the sort code and account number, always double check they're correct. If the payment is sent to an incorrect account, this can cause delays. This next page asks what you want to do if you've not paid enough tax. There are two questions on this page. The first question asks about the amount you owe from this tax return and if you want us to try and collect the tax and Class 4 National Insurance through your PAYE tax code in the 2026 to 2027 tax year. You can choose yes or no, however, there are time limits and restrictions that apply. We cannot collect any Class 2 National Insurance through your PAYE tax code. This must be paid by the 31st of January following the end of the tax year. You must have a PAYE source of income, and the income from this must be enough to collect the tax due. You must owe less than £3,000 in income tax and Class 4 National Insurance. If it's more than this, we won't be able to collect any of the tax due through your tax code. You must send your completed online tax return by the 30th of December 2025. If it's after this date when you submit your return, we cannot collect the tax due in this way. The same time limits and restrictions also apply to the second question on this page. Let's look at an example. You're employed and also self-employed. You submit your 2024 to 2025 tax return on the 1st of December 2025. You've ticked the box to say you want us to try to collect the tax due through your PAYE tax code in 2026 to 2027. Your total tax bill is £725.85. So, do you meet the criteria for the underpayment to be collected through your tax code? Well, you've submitted your tax return before the 30th of December 2025. Our systems confirm that your income is enough to collect the tax due. The amount you owe, £725.85, is below the £3,000 limit. However, the amount you owe includes £182.85 Class 2 National Insurance. So we'll collect £543 through your 2026 to 2027 tax code, but you'll have to pay the Class 2 National Insurance, £182.85 by the 31st of January 2026. The second question is about tax you might owe in this tax year on income other than that from your employment or pensions. For example, savings income, profits from UK property, or the high income child benefit charge. We're asking if you want us to use the figures from this tax return to update your PAYE tax code for this year, so you pay tax during the year on the amount you might have this year. So if you choose yes, because you think the amount of other income you had last year will be the same this year, we'll adjust your tax code for 2025 to 2026 to collect the tax due, which will lower your tax bill for your next tax return. Let's look at an example. On this tax return, you tell us you had a £2,000 profit from UK property. If you choose yes to this question, we'll adjust your tax code for this year to try to collect any tax due on £2,000 of property income that you'll get this year. When you fill in your tax return for 2025 to 2026, if we can collect it, you'll have paid the tax due on £2,000 of UK property income already through your PAYE source of income. If you answer no, we won't adjust your tax code. When you fill in your tax return for 2025 to 2026, you will have a tax bill for any tax due on any UK property profits that you have in the year. Next, we ask you about adjustments to increase or decrease the tax due for the tax year 2024 to 2025. This is the Adjustments to Tax Due page. There are 3 questions on this page. Many people will leave this page blank, as entries in this section are only made in limited circumstances. People that may need to make entries are those claiming averaging for farmers, creators of literary or artistic work, or if you're making certain adjustments to earlier years. These can be complex areas. The Help About guidance has more information for each question, but if you need help, you may need to contact us or your tax advisor. On any other information, page 1 of 2, we ask if any amounts entered on your tax return are provisional. If they are, you must tell us why you've used them and when you'll have the final figures on the next page. On page 2 of any other information, tell us about anything that you feel is needed to support your entries on the tax return. For example, why you've used provisional figures or a breakdown of the pension payments you've received. Don't include any figures that will affect your tax calculation. They should already have been entered in the tax return. There is a limit of 700 characters, including spaces, and only certain special characters can be used. There's more in the Help About guidance on this. Please don't use the Enter or Return key on your keyboard when adding details, as this will cause an error when you save and continue. If needed, use the space bar if you need to make more than one entry. We also ask if you want to add an attachment to your tax return. This should only be done when asked to do so on the tax return or in the guidance. Now you've made all your entries on your tax return, we'll move on to checking your return. This is the Check Your Return page. If you've not answered all the required questions in a section, you'll receive a message that your return contains errors. You'll have to go back to the section highlighted in red to correct the error. Once all errors have been corrected, the Check Your Return page reminds you about income you said you did not have in the tax year. If you've missed anything, you can go back to tailor your return to add the section you need. It also gives you a list of all the sections you've completed in the tax return and allows you to check you've entered all the information relevant to your circumstances. If you need to go back and change something, use the links provided. When you've checked that everything has been included, select Next at the bottom of the page to view your calculation summary. You can find out about your self-assessment calculation in our webinar, Your Self-Assessment Calculation and Payments. In the webinar, we look at what's included in your calculation, payments on account, the full self-assessment calculation, what to pay and when, budget payment plans, payments already made, how to pay, and what to do if you can't pay on time. When you select Save and Continue on the calculation summary, you may be asked about reducing your payments on account, if they're due. This again is covered in our webinar, Your Self-Assessment Calculation and Payments. We'll now move on to saving and submitting your return. On the Save Your Return page, you're given a chance to save, view and print your full tax return. Your tax return has not yet been submitted. You can save, view or print your return in black and white or as a color copy. There's an important note about privacy guidance which you should read, especially if you're not using your own computer. When you view, print or save your return, your browser will automatically store a copy of the file in the computer's temporary Internet Files cache. Instructions are included for how to delete this file once you have viewed or printed it. The black and white copy will show all the sections you've completed in text only, so it doesn't resemble the tax return as it's an HTML file. However, it will be a smaller file size and quicker to download. A color copy will also show all the sections you've filled in, but this is a PDF file and so you'll need a PDF viewer to view it. The color copy does resemble the paper tax return form. The file size will be larger and will take longer to download. At the bottom of this page, you can add attachments if they are required and view a list of attachments that have been added. Please remember, attachments should only be added if the guidance tells you to. You're now ready to submit your tax return, so select Save and Continue. This is the Submit Your Return page. You must make a declaration before you can submit the tax return. The declaration is that the information you have given in your tax return is correct and complete to the best of your knowledge and belief. Remember, you may be charged penalties and face prosecution if the information you've given is false. Your return will not be finalized until you tick the declaration and select Submit at the bottom of the page. When you do, you'll be asked to enter your Government Gateway user ID and password to re-authenticate before your return is submitted. Once HMRC receive your return, you'll get a unique submission receipt reference number. It can take up to 72 hours for your records and statement to show your final tax bill. You're able to amend your tax return after you have sent it. So we'll now look at how you do that. If you've sent your online tax return and then realize that you've made a mistake, you can change it online within 12 months of the deadline. For example, for the 2024 to 2025 tax return, The deadline to send it is the 31st of January 2026. You'll be able to amend that tax return online until the 31st of January 2027. If you miss the deadline, you'll need to write to HMRC. You must wait 72 hours, that's 3 days, after sending your online return before you can amend it. For a step-by-step guide to amending your tax return, go to Self-Assessment Tax Returns on gov.uk and choose the link to If you need to change your return. Scroll down the page to Online Tax Returns, where you'll find the guidance. I'll just remind you that these are the titles of our other webinars in the series to help you fill in your online tax return. You can find out when these webinars are running and about other products to help you with your tax return on our HMRC email updates, videos and webinars for self-assessment page on gov.uk. We are nearly at the end of the webinar now. Here's a summary of what we've covered today. In today's webinar, we've looked at underpaid and overpaid tax, adjustments to tax due, checking your return, saving and submitting your return, and amending your return after you've sent it. Our full range of help and guidance can be viewed online from your mobile, tablet, or PC at any time. Thank you and goodbye.